Hi, Drew.
Hi, Anna.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Do you have a little brother?
I do.
You do? Did he ever get on your nerves?
Yes.
Yes. So I had a little brother too.
Really?
Who got on my nerves all the time.
Uh-huh.
And there was one time that my little brother, I had these paper dolls.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother wanted me to share them. And I told them no, I wouldn't share them. And so do you know what he did?
What?
He ripped the heads off of all of my paper dolls.
Oh my gosh.
And it made me really mad.
Yeah.
Like really, really, really angry. And he had to go to timeout, but it still hurt my feelings a lot.
Of course.
And that story got me thinking about another story about two brothers in the Bible.
Yeah.
Who got on each other's nerves.
Uh-huh.
So do you want to get in the minivan and talk about it?
Let's do it.
Let's get in the car. Let's go.
From the stories of Noah's Ark and Anna on the lawn, through the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and John. Whether you're new to this or an avid Sunday schooler, we'll learn about the Bible,
Just like church.
But even cooler!
and we take what we learn and we use what we find to go into the world and let the light of God shine.
Buckle up, kids.
Minivangelism. It's time to go mini-evangelism. In faith we grow mini-evangelism. Let's start the show!
All right. So we're in the van.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about Cain and Abel.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah? What do you know about Cain and Abel?
It's it's the story that comes right after the one we talked about last time.
Yes.
And it's like the story, like the first time where there's an actual family in the Bible.
Yes.
And I think that it's about like what it means to be a family, which is, it's hard.
Very hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what it's like to have siblings too.
Yeah. So you did a really good job with a song about Cain and Abel's mom and dad.
Yes.
And do you maybe have a song about their kids?
We do.
You do?
Yes.
Is it with Hannah?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think I would love for you to hear it.
Oh, can I?
Yes.
All right, let's go. Turn it on.
Das ist...
The story starts with Cain and Abel, but it ends with Cain and God. This is no ordinary fable. It's written in the very side. Whether you're a father, a mother, a sister, a brother, a daughter, or a son, being in a family has been hard since it first begun. We could all destroy each other like Cain did his brother, but that would be no fun. We all need a better way, and grace is the only one. Cain's the son of Eve and Adam. Abel is their second born. Abel raised the sheep and cattle. Cain grew plants like wheat and corn. Both the brothers built an altar, filled it with their farm fresh stuff. God liked all that Abel offered, liked Cain's too, but just not as much. Whether you're a father, a mother, a sister, a brother, a daughter, or a son, being in a family has been hard since it first begun. We could all destroy each other like Cain did his brother, but that would be no fun. We all need a better way, and grace is the only one. Cain was jealous of his brother, and he said so to the Lord. Cain got angry like no other. That's when things went overboard. God said, Cain, do please careful. Evil's lurking all around. Cain went out in search of Abel and knocked him down into the ground. Whether you're a father, mother, a sister, a brother, a daughter, or a son, being in a family has been hard since it first begun. We could all destroy each other like Cain did his brother, but that would be no fun. We all need a better way, and grace is the only one. God said, Cain, where did your bro go? Cain looked over at the cows. He said, why the heck should I know? Am I my brother's keeper now? God said, Cain, how could this happen? Things will never be the same. When you're sweating in your garden, I hope you hear your brother's name. Whether you're a father, mother, a sister, a brother, a daughter, or a son, being in a family has been hard since it first begun. We could all destroy each other like Cain did his brother, but that would be no fun. We all need a better way, and grace is the only one. So, with open ears and open peepers, pay attention to this word. We are all each other's keepers, but our hope is in the Lord. Whether you're a father, mother, a sister, a brother, daughter, or a son, being in a family has been hard since it first begun. We could all destroy each other like Cain did his brother, but that would be no fun. We all need a better way, and grace is the only one. We all need a better way, and grace is the only one. We all need a better way, and grace is the only one.
Oh my goodness. I really like that song, Drew.
I'm glad you did. I will tell you that I feel that song.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, like the chorus, being in a family has been hard since it first begun. Like, I feel that as like a parent, and even before I was a parent, being in a family is hard.
It is.
Yeah.
Because you love all of these people.
Right.
But they kind of get on your nerves.
Of course.
Like when they rip the heads off your paper dolls.
Right. And you love them in some cases because you have to love them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
It is.
It's
It is really hard.
So let's talk about the story in non-song form.
Sure.
So last time we talked about Adam and Eve.
Yes.
So Adam and Eve, they leave the garden
Mhm.
and they end up having two sons.
That's right.
Cain,
Mhm.
who takes care of plants. He tills the land and
Right.
regrows plants. And then you have Abel, who takes care of the animals, the sheep and the cows.
Yes.
I'm always able to remember Cain, crops, Abel, animals.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good mnemonic device.
See, you just gotta, that's how I can remember them, or else I would get really confused.
Yeah. And part of what we have to notice about that is Cain is born first and then Abel.
Yes.
So in your family, who was born first?
I was born first.
Ah,
What about you?
I was the second of three. So I was the middle child. So
Oh.
it'll be a while before we get a Bible story where we hear about the middle child. But in this Bible story, it's important to see that there's Cain, who's the eldest, and then Abel, who's the second born.
Right.
Yeah.
So does that make me Cain?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
But it is. Well, so
Maybe.
anyway, so you have Cain and you have Abel.
Yes.
They're two brothers. One takes care of the crops, one takes care of the animals. And they both decide that they are going to give an offering to God.
Yes.
Cain gives his offering first, and he goes and he gets some of his plants and he gives them to God. Abel goes into his flocks and he chooses the firstborn.
Yeah.
And he takes the best part of the animal to sacrifice to God.
Yeah.
And God really likes Abel's sacrifice.
Yeah. At our church, we do an offering, and it's kind of similar, but what we put in the plate is not like vegetables and meat. We usually put money, and
Yes.
at our church, like our Connect cards in there.
Yeah.
But it's the same kind of thing. It's like a thing that religious people do, is that we give to God out of gratitude for what God has given us.
Right.
And part of what I notice in this story is that they both give gifts to God, but the Bible tells us that Abel's gift is a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
That Abel gives like his best stuff
Right.
and the first stuff he gets.
Right.
Yeah.
And so God looks with favor on Abel's,
Mhm.
and he doesn't really look with favor on Cain's. And
Yeah.
Cain gets jealous.
Mm-hmm.
And he is not happy with Abel. He is very annoyed that his little brother is getting favor from God.
Yeah. And God notices.
Yeah, he does. And he tells Cain, you need to check yourself
Right.
because evil is lurking
Right.
and will take advantage of you if you don't have a good heart.
Yeah.
And
Does it work?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Cain goes, okay, God, and then invites Abel for a walk.
Right.
And while they're out on this walk, he actually hurts Abel. He kills Abel. And then he tries to hide it.
Mm-hmm.
But God, knowing everything, goes to Cain and gives Cain an opportunity to admit his mistake. And he says to Cain, hey, where's your brother?
Yeah.
And Cain was like, how am I supposed to know? I'm not my brother's keeper.
Yeah. What, am I in charge of that guy?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then God is like, Cain, I know what you did. And now things are going to be even harder for you. Every time you till the land, you're going to think about your brother. Your brother's blood will cry out from the ground. And Cain is not happy about this.
Right.
So what do you remember? What happens after that?
So then Cain says, I can't handle that consequence.
Right.
Cain gets scared
Uh-huh.
about what God has said. And kind of, it doesn't really ask for something different, but just expresses to God that, like, that's terrifying. I'm never going to be able to have a life.
Right. And he's worried that the same thing will happen to him.
Yeah.
And so God marks Cain,
Mm-hmm.
but he also sends him away.
Mm-hmm.
He sends him out of his presence with this mark. And the mark basically says, if anybody tries to take revenge on you, they can't. Like, you've been marked by God.
That's right.
So it ends on a sad note. Again, we're batting 1,000 with the sad endings right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because these stories are, like, real. They're not fairy tales.
Right.
They're about real life and how hard it is.
Yeah. So we can talk about this story. And this story is really, it's dark and it's complicated. But I recently talked to a friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
Her name is Hannah.
Great name.
I love that name. And Hannah is 9 years old.
Excellent.
And her favorite color is purple.
Oh, she sounds fantastic.
She's such a cool kid. So I talked to her about it. She seemed to know a little bit. So I'm going to go talk to her right now. And then I'm going to come back and tell you everything she says. Okay?
Great. Let's do it.
All right. I'm going to get out the car. Hi, Hannah.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming and talking to me about Cain and Abel.
You're welcome.
So, how much do you know about Cain and Abel?
Not a lot, but enough to tell you.
To talk to me about it?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, let's start with the things that you probably do know. What book of the Bible is Cain and Abel found in?
Genesis.
Okay, and Genesis is in which testament?
The Old Testament.
Old Testament, that's right. And who were Cain and Abel's mom and dad?
Adam and Eve.
That's right. And do you know which one was the older brother?
Cain.
Yeah, see, you know a lot about Cain and Abel. Don't sell yourself short, Hannah. You know what you got this. You got this. So Cain and Abel had two different jobs. What was Cain's job?
Farming.
Farming what?
Crops.
Crops, like plants and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And then what was Abel's job?
Working with animals.
That's right. So Cain and Abel, they both farmed, right? But just one guy worked with the crops and
Yeah.
then one guy worked with the animals. All right. And then what happened? Like something happened to make Cain mad. What was it?
God accepted Abel's gift, but not Cain's.
That's right. God liked Abel's gift more. He favored him more. And Cain was totally cool about that, right? Like he was totally happy and not jealous. And then he gave his brother a big ol' high five. That's what happened. Yeah.
Sure, let's go with that.
Yeah.
Nuh-uh. Nuh-uh.
Okay. What really happened?
Cain got very enraged and eventually killed his brother.
Oh boy, that's not
Ooh.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then God found out about it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, God found out. And what happened?
I forget the punishment, but he gave Cain some sort of punishment.
Mm-hmm.
Then he regretted it because Cain was begging for a different punishment. So God changed it to, he gave Cain some sort of mark
Uh-huh.
so that anyone that he came, like, that saw him or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
that came across him, wouldn't kill him.
Yeah, that's right. You do know a lot about this story.
Okay.
So what parts of the story do you like?
Well, I didn't necessarily like all of it because most of it was like very harsh.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty dark story, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah. We're going from like a dark story with their mom and dad, like immediately into another dark story. So what were some things that you found interesting? Like, what did you notice?
It interested me when God rejected Cain.
Okay.
Like, it's not very normal for God, who has eternal love,
Mm-hmm.
to not like somebody.
Right.
It's very unnatural.
Do you think it's that God didn't like Cain or God didn't like what Cain brought to the table?
What Cain? I think it was that he didn't like what Cain brought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And then what else, like what were some other things that you noticed?
I thought Cain took it a little overboard when he literally killed his own brother.
Yeah.
That was a little harsh for
Yeah.
me.
Do you have a little brother?
Yes.
You ever get mad at your little brother?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah, but not like that mad, right?
No.
No.
Luckily, he's still alive.
Yes. It's more of just like, I don't want to be in the same room as you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so one thing that the Bible is really good about is it invites us to ask questions, right? And here on Minivangelism, we encourage our listeners to have I wonder questions. So what are some good I wonder questions that you have about this story?
Well, I could only think of one, but one of them is, I really wonder, how did Cain kill Abel?
How did he kill
What was
Abel?
his technique?
Okay. Yeah, I don't know that question.
Because I looked in the Bible, I looked it up, and it doesn't say anything about how Cain killed Abel. It just says that he killed Abel.
That's not great.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, and I mean, and it's kind of, this is the first murder, right?
Yes, the first murder of the Bible.
So, like, how would he even know? What, do you think he meant to do it?
Maybe a little bit. Like, he might have been hurting Cain.
Mhm.
I mean Abel, not knowing that he could murder his brother.
Right.
So he was intentionally hurting Abel, but he didn't intend to kill him.
Right. Yeah.
Most likely.
Yeah, that's a really good, like, wondering too, right? Like a really cool, like, thought experiment, I guess, of just like, you know, what were his intentions all along? Like, was he just trying to get even with him or what? So it's really insightful, Hannah. Good job. Good job with that.
I'm in 4th grade. I don't know what that means, but okay.
Insightful means smart.
Okay.
Yeah. So what does this story tell us about God? Because every story in the Bible shows us a little bit more and more about God. So what does this tell us about God?
Well, God is, magical in a way.
How's that?
So, like, he can do things that to us are impossible.
Mm-hmm.
therefore he can create miracles, do crazy things like that. So in a way, like, when he put a mark on Cain and, like, made him immortal to physical violence
Yeah.
or something like that.
He basically, like, marked Cain and was like, this isn't going to happen to you.
Yeah,
Like nobody can get revenge.
Nobody can kill you.
Right. So what does that tell us, though? Like, why... I guess my question is, why would God do that for someone who literally just, murdered someone?
Because he has eternal love.
That's really good. Here's that word again, insightful. I've never thought of it that way. So that's a really interesting way to look at that God still loved Cain despite the horrible thing that he did. And there was almost like forgiveness in that. So what does this story mean for Hannah?
Don't kill people. Like don't hurt people.
Okay.
Because sometimes I want to hurt my siblings, but I end up not doing it.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Right. Maybe we have to show them some love.
Maybe.
Because maybe they don't mean it.
Maybe.
Right, because Abel didn't do anything wrong. Except annoy Cain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can relate to that. That's very relatable.
Yeah. So, all right, I do this podcast with my friend Drew. And Drew claims that he knows a lot about the Bible. And a challenge that I have is I really want to stump Pastor Drew. Okay? He's a pastor, so
it's going to be easy.
He should know. Oh, you think so? You
think
it'll be
easy?
easy? Okay, so let's hear it. Let's hear these 3 questions to stump Pastor Drew.
Actually, they're 5, but okay.
Oh, you have 5 questions?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Bring them to the table, girl.
So one of them is, do you think the punishment fit the crime? So, like, does he think that, that God's punishment to Cain before he put the mark on him, was necessary for the murder?
Okay. All right.
I
also think another question, too, is did the punishment fit the crime for Abel's, offense against Cain?
Yes.
Yeah.
What was Cain's motive? What was Cain's means? And what was Cain's opportunity?
Ooh.
So it's like those things are like all over the internet. Like lawyers say if somebody committed a crime, like you have to say what was their motive, what was their means, what was their opportunity, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So that's what I was gonna put in. Okay, and then my last question is what made Abel's gift better? So why did God accept Abel's gift and not Cain's?
That's a really good question. I have always wondered that too. And I've looked it up and I can't tell you an answer.
Wow.
So I think you've stumped him. I'll let you know if you stump Pastor Drew on that one. Yeah. All right. So this is a really dark story, right? We're talking about killing siblings and, just not very positive things. So let's end with a joke.
Okay.
You got a joke for me?
Let me think of one.
Okay.
Light bulb.
Okay, let's hear it.
So in the Bible, Cain asks, "Am I my brother's keeper?" So I'm willing to keep my brother, but I'm gonna have to ask my dad to pay me by the hour.
That was a great joke, Hannah. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Hannah, for coming and talking to me about this story.
You're welcome. I really enjoyed it.
Awesome. And you said you didn't know a lot about it, but you actually taught me some stuff today. So thank you. I really appreciate it.
Nice.
All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, I'm back.
Hey, welcome back.
Hey.
How'd it go?
Oh, it was amazing. Hannah's a really cool kid.
Oh, that's
and
great.
I just love hanging out with her.
Yeah.
So Hannah had some pretty interesting I wonder questions, some really insightful thoughts.
Yes.
So here's her I wonder question.
Uh-huh.
You ready?
I am.
How did Cain kill Abel?
Ooh. That's a good I wonder question.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if anybody listening in the car, I'm going to give you a second to guess. How do you think Cain killed Abel? thanks for guessing. The answer is we don't know.
Oh!
It's not in the Bible. So we kind of have to use our imaginations. And I think it's interesting to notice, like, if you try to imagine it, how easy it is to imagine things that would kill somebody. There's lots of different ways.
Yes.
We are, as people, sadly, like, we can imagine what that's like.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of what the story's telling us. I think I've seen it like hit him with a rock, but I don't actually know.
I think that's probably the most accurate. I've always seen hit him with a rock too.
Yeah.
Because cavemen. And...
Yeah, exactly. But we don't actually know.
No. But one thing Hannah said about like what this story tells her about God is she noticed God's redemption.
Yeah.
In this, there was a phrase she kept using over and over, which was eternal love.
Yeah.
Like God has eternal love.
Yeah.
And even when Cain goes and does this horrendous thing, he is still spared.
Yeah.
You know, God gives him this mark that says, you know, what happened to your brother, what you did to your brother, nobody can do to you.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I think in my own sibling relationships and in like my own children's sibling relationships, fairness is really important.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's like true of all of us. Fairness is really important. And there's a sense in which if God were fair, like if Cain did this to Abel, then God should do it to Cain.
Right.
Like that would be fair.
Mm-hmm.
But God doesn't do that. God is not fair. God is in some sense nicer than fair, kinder than fair, more generous or gracious than fair. And I think that's one of the biggest things we learn about God in this story.
Yes. And I think a lot of times people have that question of why is God not fair?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the answer to that is love.
I think that's right.
He loves us. And even when we get angry.
Right. And God is just better at love than we are.
Yes.
Which can be frustrating, but I also think it's good news.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know that I'm not perfect at loving anybody. Least of all my siblings or even my kids. Mm-hmm. I'm not perfect at that.
Right.
But I'm glad that they've got somebody who is somebody like God.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so Hannah had 5 questions.
Yes.
To stump Pastor Drew.
That's great.
She came prepared.
Yeah, and it means that I'm probably going to fail, but I'm ready for it.
I don't know. You've still got your 3 bits from last episode.
Yeah,
so
let's see.
Let's see. Okay. Do you think the punishment fit the crime? And she was talking about Cain's punishment. And I think we kind of talked about this just a couple of seconds ago. Do you think that the punishment fit the crime?
The answer is no. I think the punishment was softer than the crime. I also don't think Cain's punishment to Abel fit the crime because I'm not even sure there was a crime.
No.
So it's interesting that what Cain does to Abel is also not fair.
Right.
But it's in a less than fair direction. But what then God does to Cain is better than fair.
Right.
So we see 2 examples where fairness could mean one thing, but we get something else.
Mm-hmm. From
Cain, we get less than fair. From God, we get better than fair.
Right. And Hannah made a really good point about initially when God says, you tilling the ground, it's not going to give you anything.
Yeah. Right?
Like no matter how hard you work, you're not going to be able to reap the benefits of your work. And you're going to be haunted essentially by the memory of your brother.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to live with this guilt. And then I think that punishment does fit the crime.
Yeah, and maybe that's just consequences.
Right.
And I think in our family, we try to figure out the difference between consequences and punishment.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think punishment tries to make you feel bad.
Right.
Consequences is just what happens.
Right.
Consequences is what happens when you make a mistake.
Right.
And generally, I think with our kids, we try to help them see and experience the consequences because they're real.
Mm-hmm. We
try to actually avoid punishing because of God.
And that's where that love comes in.
That's right.
Consequences are human.
Yeah.
But a lack of eternal punishment is love.
Yes.
And God's love. Okay. So you had a pretty good answer to that one. She didn't stump you.
All right, great. Let's try the next one.
Okay. What were the means What were the motive? And what was the opportunity?
This kid has watched too much TV, I think.
I mean, I think that yes, a lot of Law and Order in this house.
I don't even know if I know what these are. So the means, I guess, is like how it was done.
How did he do it?
We talked about that. We don't know exactly. We have to kind of use our imagination.
Okay, stumped one.
Yeah. So if the Bible doesn't say it, I'm stumped?
Yep.
Okay.
The motive.
The motive is, I think it's jealousy. It's that my younger brother seems to do a better job at praising God than I did. Or God chose a favorite, and it was my younger brother and not me.
Okay.
I think that's the motive. And if I'm honest, I think it's kind of fair for Cain to feel that way.
Yes.
I kind of get it. But it doesn't necessarily justify what Cain did. It doesn't mean it's okay to kill your brother.
Right. Did you ever get jealous of your little brother?
Yes, I am right now. He's gorgeous. He's talented. he's awesome, and I'm not those things. And so,
but he's still alive.
He is.
So then there you go.
And I think because we've survived to this point, I actually love him more than I am jealous of him. So opportunity is, I guess they were both out farming together.
Okay.
Like I don't think it took much for them to find themselves like alone and in the open, because these are among the first humans and they have to work all day. And so I think that's probably the opportunity.
Okay. All right. So two out of three ain't
okay,
bad.
not bad.
2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the last one. And this one kind of stumped me too.
Okay.
What made Abel's gift better than Cain's?
It's a great question. I think there are actually kind of two answers.
Okay.
So one is in the Bible, it tells us that Cain gave a gift of plants, of vegetables, which is great. Abel gave a gift from the firstlings, or like the firstborn animals, and gave the best portions. So you can imagine if your favorite food is beef,
Okay.
which would you rather have? Like ground beef in a burger from a place you don't like, or a really nice steak that's cooked perfectly?
I'm going to go with the second one on that one.
I think so too. Although, to be fair, I love a good burger from a not nice place. I eat those too.
Well, no, I'm picky.
But part of what... But when Abel was choosing what God deserved to receive from Abel as a gift, Abel picked the best stuff. And that's the only difference in their gifts that we're told, is that Abel chose kind of the best and the first, which means that Abel was giving that to God instead of taking it for himself. And generally, that's something that the Bible tells us, like, that God is worthy of, that we can give God our absolute best because God can give us more. So we don't have to be afraid or keep the best things for ourselves. We can share them because God can give us more. So I think that's the first difference. The second difference is actually their age.
Okay.
That God, as we read the Bible, we'll see that God seems to like to choose the one that we wouldn't choose. So if there's a firstborn and a secondborn, God frequently chooses the secondborn, even though, especially in biblical times, the firstborn gets all the best stuff. God seems to be different. God seems to choose the less powerful one, the weak one, the one who's been hurt or looked over, the one who's poor. And this is one of the first examples of learning that about God, that God, for whatever reason, chooses the secondborn instead of the first. And that's a theme that I think we'll continue to see over time. And I think it's good news for folks that are not in first place all the time.
Yeah.
That God actually looks after the folks who are in last place. And Jesus will later say, in God's kingdom, the last become first and the first become last. So God is kind of flipping the way that we put people in order. And God actually loves the least or the lesser or the secondborn. And so those are, I think, the two differences between their gifts and why God chose or favored Abel's gift.
And I like that you corrected yourself when you just said favored over chose.
Yeah.
Because for those that are in first place,
yeah,
for the firstborns, God didn't outright reject Cain's gift.
That's right.
It just says that he looked with favor on Abel's.
That's right.
But he still accepted Cain's,
Right.
you know? And so I think that that's important to note, that God didn't just completely disregard Cain.
Yeah, if they had both survived long enough to make a second offering, who knows? God could have favored Cain's offering more than Abel's, but we didn't get to see that happen.
Right. Cain kind of rushed to judgment.
That's right.
Which is a normal firstborn thing.
Sure.
I will say that. Rushing to judgment and just wanting to fix it is a normal firstborn thing.
That's fair. That's fair.
All right, so I think you had 2 answers for that last one.
Yeah.
So that makes up for the one that you didn't know.
Okay, good.
So you didn't get stumped this time.
Well, hooray for me.
Next time.
Yeah.
Next time.
There will be another chance.
Yes. So what does this story tell you, Pastor Drew? What does it tell you about God?
I think part of it we just kind of talked about, that God looks after the lowly or the lesser or the second-born or the least. Mm-hmm. And I actually really like what Hannah said about it, that God has eternal love and doesn't necessarily give us what we deserve. Mm-hmm. But that even though Cain really deserved to receive the same thing he gave to Abel, that's not what God gives to Cain. There are consequences, but when Cain is afraid of dying, God actually saves Cain's life. Mm-hmm. And that is what God is like. Mm-hmm. I think that's good news, and it's good to learn that in a story like this. Actually, in the Adam and Eve story and in this story, there are times when we think, okay, because Adam and Eve did that, or because Cain did that, that means they're supposed to die. And in both cases, they don't.
Right. God
actually preserves their life when God might have even been right not to, but God chooses to preserve their life. So I think that's what we learn about God.
Nice. I think what it tells me is, I don't look at it necessarily at the end of the story, but more in the middle of the story, when God first talks to Cain and says, you need to check your heart, right? You need to be careful because evil is lurking. It's crouching at your door, and you need to just kind of get your heart right. I think that was God knew what Cain was capable of, knew what Cain was probably going to do, and gave him an opportunity to fix it.
Yeah, I love that.
God didn't just immediately step in and say, like, this is what you need to do, X, Y, Z. God wanted Cain to kind of figure it out for himself a little bit, and warned him.
And gave him some wisdom.
Gave him wisdom, just like he did his mom and dad. He gave them a warning of, hey, almost like he was saying, give it time. Maybe focus on your own offering before you look at your brother's offering. And my mom used to say that to me all the time, because I was very quick to point out my brother's faults. And she would always say, you need to focus on you. Yeah. You need to take care of yourself. And I think that's what God was telling Cain. Yeah. You need to focus on you. And then Cain ignored God's wisdom. Mm-hmm. And again, God gave Cain an opportunity to do the right thing when he asked, hey, where's your brother? Yeah. He gave Cain the opportunity to admit what he had done. But just like mom and dad, Cain decided that he was going to lie about it. Not lie, but deceive. Yeah. And say, I don't know, I'm not in charge of that guy. I'm not a babysitter, you know? And I think that that's really important. That just says a lot to me about God, that he's always giving you wisdom, and you have the choice to listen to it. And when you make a mistake, he's not immediately there just like doling out the punishment. He gives you an opportunity for self-reflection. Yeah.
God is actually a helper. Mm-hmm. And when you don't take God's help, God is a savior.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And thank goodness.
Yeah, we need both of those things.
Can I tell you one other cool thing that I think about with this story?
Obviously, yes. Go for it.
The mark of Cain. What do you think that mark was? Like the mark that God puts on Cain. What do you think it was? Is it a birthmark? What is it? A tattoo? What do you think?
What do you think?
I don't know. But in the church, when we baptize someone, we take a little bit of oil. Yeah. And we mark the person that's being baptized. Sometimes it's a baby. We put a mark on their head. And the mark that we put on them is a cross. And part of my understanding of what's happening there is that the same thing that God gave to Cain to save his life and to protect him is the same thing that we're offering babies when they're baptized. That we're putting a mark on them. And what we say is, child of God, you are sealed as Christ's own forever. That it's a forever promise. And I love that part of the story. I don't know what it was for Cain, but I can even imagine what if God, who we later learn is exactly like Jesus, what if God, the mark that God put on Cain's head was actually the cross? That it was actually Jesus' own blessing that God was giving to Cain, even all the way back then.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a really cool thing. That's a great I wonder question.
Yeah. And I'll tell you that in my own house, sometimes right before the children fall asleep, or sometimes when they're already asleep, I will walk in the room and I will give a little sign of the cross on their head. I learned it from somebody else, but they don't even have to know about it. It's kind of my reminder that that God has promised to watch after my children and to love them even better than I can.
That's great.
Yeah.
I like that.
Me too.
Can I say it's not as profound as what you said,
Sure.
but what it makes me think of is in the movie Frozen.
Uh-huh.
You know how Anna has those 2 blonde streaks in her hair?
Yes.
And it's a reminder to Elsa of what she did to her sister.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
that's kind of what it makes me think
That's
of
cool.
is Cain has this mark that he is protected by God. He is sealed, but also you're not going to forget.
Yeah.
Right? You're not going to forget.
And Harry Potter has a lightning bolt too. Maybe it would be fun to think about like any other stories where somebody gets marked to remember something.
Oh, that's, if you are listening to this in the car, talk about it. What
Yeah.
other stories can you think of where people are marked?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this, of course, we always just are looking for ways to remember. So that's one way, is if you read a story or you watch a show or a movie where somebody gets marked, remember the story.
Yeah. Or even if you or somebody in your family has a birthmark, maybe you can imagine that is something that makes them special and can remind them of God's love for them.
Yeah, that's really great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we had so much fun today in the minivan with you. Do you
Thank
have
you.
anything else you want to add?
I think the one other thing you can remember is if you have siblings or if you live in a family, the next time somebody gets mad at somebody or somebody gets jealous, I wonder if you can take a moment to just remember the story and take a breath and see if you want to do something different than what Cain did.
Yes.
See if the love of God actually changes your heart. I think it might not, and God will still love you. But part of growing up and part of learning to be in a family is practicing remembering a story like this and letting it change you.
Right. Because you love your siblings now, don't you?
I do.
I
do.
love my brother.
I would do anything for them.
Me too.
Yeah.
So there's hope. If
Yeah.
your siblings are getting on your nerves right now, there is hope.
That's right.
All right. Well, if you have any I Wonder questions, or if you would like some questions to stump Pastor Drew, you can reach out to us on Instagram. You can find us at Minivangelism, or you can send us an email to minivangelism@gmail.com. And parents, don't forget there is a companion episode called The Driver's Seat, where we will talk a little bit more about this story from the perspective of grown-ups. And we will talk about ways that you can think about it and discuss this story with your own kids. So we'll see you next time. Bye!
Bye.
Minivangelism and the Driver's Seat are hosted by Anna Burrell and Drew Colby. Theme song written by David Burrell and produced by Evan Setzer. The theme song was performed by David Burrell, Drew Colby, and Evan Setzer. Podcast, sound design, and editing done by David Burrell. Minivangelism and the Driver's Seat are a ministry of Grace United Methodist Church in Manassas, Virginia. For more information, check out umcgrace.org.